This is Yuumi. What looks like a cute, innocent cat is actually one of the most hated characters in League of Legends, and she's a top runner for the most problematic characters in the game. But the people who actually play this character can be even more problematic. So naturally, I've made the Yuumi player's brain one of my priorities to study. And I, as a certified self-proclaimed neuroscientist, today I present to you the 5 parts of the Yuumi player's brain. Buckle in, class, because this is the psychology of every Yuumi player. And we will start with the first part of the Yuumi player's brain. This is the Alt+Tab cortex. You see, Yuumi players will never be caught without at least 2 monitors, because before the game even loads in, the Yuumi player is already loading up YouTube, TikTok, or Netflix. Because League of Legends is not their primary focus, it's just a side quest. And if you're expecting them to actually pay attention and contribute to the entirety of the game, then you're asking too much. Because why else would they pick a character that plays itself? Yuumi doesn't have to worry about positioning or damage or moving like any other character. So naturally, they've mastered the art of multitasking. They probably don't even have to look back over at the game to know when to press their buttons. It becomes like a 6th sense for the Yuumi player. At least that's what they'll tell themselves. If you're ever wondering why your Yuumi didn't help you in lane, there's 2 things that might have happened. The first is that the Yuumi player ran themselves out of mana without even realizing it, because they just pressed their buttons off cooldown without actually looking at their screen. The second is that they got so hooked on whatever they're watching that they didn't even realize that you were taking damage, and so they just didn't help you. And the reason this happens is because Yuumi is the perfect character for brain-rotted players. They are people that have had their attention span ruined by Instagram Reels, TikToks, and YouTube Shorts. But maybe they still want to play League of Legends. And Riot, being the thoughtful and wholesome company that they are, gave them a perfect character. A character that lets them entertain their last few brain cells on something else while they still play League of Legends. And to the Yuumi players who actually do lock in on the game without distractions, you are guilty by association, and you should play a different character. Either that or pull up some Netflix and join them, and let the Alt+Tab cortex take control. But now we'll talk about the second part of the Yuumi player brain. This is the Abandonment Reflex. This part of the brain activates the moment their host dies. This triggers a primal fear response to the Yuumi players, akin to a baby koala being peeled off its mom's back and then tossed into a war zone. Yuumi players are not built for independence. The second they're ejected into the world as a free-floating target, panic sets in. Their screen goes full gray before they even hit the ground, because death isn't probable, it's inevitable. The entire enemy team starts licking their chops the second they see a dismounted Yuumi. You see, Yuumi is like a spoiled house cat. She wakes up every morning in a comfortable home, gives herself a bath, and enjoys a can of Fancy Feast. Now imagine that spoiled house cat accidentally gets left outside. It has no survival instinct like a wildcat. They never had to fight for anything in their lives or experience any kind of danger. And now they have to worry about birds, alligators, bears, rats, and Mordekaisers. So the Yuumi player knows they won't last like this on their own. So they have to do the one thing they can do to save their KDA. Find a teammate as soon as possible. Because Yuumi players are always striving to have that zero-death game. And they expect their teammates to drop everything and come save them. And if you don't come save the Yuumi, well, we'll get to that next. But first, we need to talk about something else. You're probably watching this video thinking, man, this Shanzo guy really knows his stuff. This is the funniest video I've seen in months. He's the GOAT of League of Legends content right now. He probably has 1 million subscribers. Well, all of that is true except the last part. I'm still a new channel, and if you want to see me do this for every character, then you need to like the video and subscribe. Then comment below who you want me to do this for next. The champions that get recommended the most will be added to a poll on my channel that you can vote on. And if you want to share your clips in some of my videos, join my Discord. But as much as I love talking about myself, you're here to hear about Yuumi. So let's get into the third part of the Yuumi player's brain. This is the Backseat Bravado. This is a swollen, overdeveloped mass deep in the recesses of the Yuumi player's brain. It's formed from years of having literally nothing better to do than to judge their teammates from the sideline. See, most champions have their hands full. Positioning, cooldowns, mechanics, and actual gameplay. But Yuumi, she's just floating there in the backseat of an Uber. And aside from the occasional Q missile, their hands are otherwise idle. So what do Yuumi players do? They talk, and they judge. Harshly. The moment things go south, even slightly, you'll see them in chat. They'll call you an ape. They'll say mid-gap. They'll say you suck. Or the classic, ADC diff. And all of this will be typed from the safety of a sparkly, untargetable cat bubble. This region gives Yuumi mains a false sense of superiority, because they aren't the ones getting hooked or mispositioned. And they assume that they wouldn't be. They become omniscient observers. They hover just behind the chaos, pretending their passive-aggressive commentary is valuable strategic insight. They might even start typing in the middle of a team fight, then forget to heal the host. And if the host dies as a result, the Yuumi will just blame them for being out of position. Because to them, every mistake is someone else's fault. And even if they die, it's because someone else let them down. Because after all, they're just a helpful little innocent cat. So now we'll move on to the fourth part of the Yuumi player's brain. This is the scale expression Mirage. This is a shimmering, delusional oasis deep in the mind of every Yuumi player. Here, every missile maneuver is treated like a high-octane outplay. Yuumi's Q isn't just a homing nuke with training wheels, it's their Exodia. Yuumi players really believe that they're the best player in the lobby, and that's because of this part of the brain. This region is built entirely on moments where they curve a single skill shot slightly to the left and declare it mechanical excellence. And you just want to tell them, no Yuumi, you turned your mouse half an inch and your Q did the rest. But to the Yuumi mains, that curve is the stuff of legend. But this part of the brain lights up especially when they land that one long distance Q in a team fight, and it manages to steal a kill. Suddenly, the Yuumi player has ascended. They've peaked. Every single long-range Q snipe reinforces the myth that Yuumi is secretly a high-skill champion, gate-kept only by ignorance and misunderstanding. And if you dare question them, they'll tell you, bro, Yuumi's actually hard to play, or right. The difficulty of having to choose who to attach to is truly the Dark Souls of decision-making. So beware. In the skill expression Mirage, logic is optional, and everything is an outplay. So now, we move on to the final part of Yuumi's brain. This is the eternal duo bond. You see, most Yuumi players, they don't enter the lobby alone. So they've made this part of the brain reserved for one person, and one person only. The Yuumi ride or die duo. You see, while most supports support their entire team, Yuumis that develop this part of their brain really only support one person. Yuumi mains in this region are spiritually, emotionally, and contractually bound to their duo. It doesn't matter if their ADC duo is 0-6 and can't dodge a Morgana Q. The Yuumi is staying put. They'd rather lose this game than win without them. Enemy top laner is fed, mid laner screaming for help, team begging for healing during the Baron fight. None of that matters, because Yuumi has to make sure that their duo is nice and healed up while they do Krugs. And the worst part is, your team might have a fed player of their own. Yuumi could have a 12-0 Irelia on her team and it still wouldn't matter. Even if that Irelia is the perfect candidate to attach to and carry this game, Yuumi players only want to stay with their duo. So if you see a Yuumi glued to a 1-9 Twitch while you bleed out in the jungle, just don't take it personally. It's not about you. Yuumi players are a lot of things, and you can say whatever you want about them, but never doubt their loyalty, because in this part of their brain, friendship is forever, even if the Nexus isn't. And with that, we conclude the psychology of every Yuumi player. Don't forget to like this video if you're still here, comment below what champion we should study next, and subscribe for more knowledge.